An update tonight, Connecticut's severe drought. It's putting a stress on our water supplies. But what happens if it continues into a worst-case scenario? NBC Connecticut's Kaitlyn McGrath has a look at what could happen when we're running dry.
In some ways, this is uncharted territory. The state has faced drought conditions before, but the one we're in right now is particularly bad. The Metropolitan District Commission serves more than 400,000 customers in Connecticut. And that agency hasn't had to pull out any drought triggers yet, but they're not in the clear. If the drought worsens, the agency does have a plan, but it's one that's never been tried before.
I mean, it's a life necessity. You have to have indoor plumbing with safe, clean water. So I feel like it's a pretty important part of life.
While some reservoirs across the state have fallen well below the 50% threshold, the Barkhamsted Reservoir, the largest drinking water reservoir in Connecticut, combined with the Nepog Reservoir, has maintained 76% capacity.
It's a very deep and has a lot of capacity. So if you think of 75 or 76% of 30 billion gallons of water is a lot larger than, for example, New Britain, which we're helping out right now, as you can know.
But if dry conditions continue and the capacity drops just 1% more, the MDC will have to pull their first drought trigger.
We will notify them we've hit that first drought trigger just as an advisory notice. We are and will ask the municipalities to not wash vehicles. We will do the same thing. We have stopped flushing our hydrants, which we would normally do this time of year anyway.
If we don't see any beneficial rainfall in the upcoming months, the MDC is expected to hit the second drought trigger in the spring.
We are in the process now of preparing for worst-case scenarios for May of 2017 for our next drought trigger of 53%.
Preparation means rebuilding their emergency drinking water reservoir in Heartland. The reservoir itself holds only 3 billion gallons of water, but the MDC also owns an additional 13 billion gallons in the Colebrook Reservoir behind it. This is the reservoir of last resort. If the drought does not ease up in time for the spring, the MDC would start taking the steps necessary to tap into this reservoir.
If we were to need this system in May, we have mechanisms to pump the water from here to our locations in Barkhamsted and our pipelines.
Something that has never been done before.
We hope not to have to test that capacity this coming spring or summer, but we're preparing for it.
We'd have to make contingencies for that. That would be a problem.
As of today, the Barkhamsted and Nepog reservoirs have a 501-day supply of drinking water. The current projected date to reach the first drought trigger of 75% is December 17th. But that being said, every time we get just a little bit of rain or snow, the date gets pushed back even further. I'm Kaitlyn McGrath, NBC Connecticut News.